Okay, so in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make this loop, and it loops seamlessly. And yeah, so I'm doing this in Blender 2.8, so I can use Eevee. But if you don't have it, everything we're doing in here works exactly the same in 2.79. So you can just follow me in either program. It won't make a difference except for the render engine that I'm using. So I'll be using Eevee just so that it renders faster, and also, in my opinion, looks a lot better. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a plane. I'm going to scale it up a bit, and then I'm going to add my camera. And then in my camera settings on rotation, I'm going to put everything over here at 0. And then I'm going to hit 0 and then zoom in just a little bit. Delete this other camera. I don't know why I have it. Okay, so now what we're going to do is make our shader that's going to get us this look. So I'm going to split my screens in two. I use the UV editing preset, but if you don't, just split your screens in half. And also, let's go back to the default. Put your frames at 360. In my opinion, that's a good medium for the speed that it takes for the different settings that we have to put on this, but you can do whatever you want after you sort of figure out the process. So have your plane selected, and I'm going to go to the shader node editor right here and add a new shader. I'm going to delete the principled here and just add a diffuse, and we're going to make it black because we're not even going to see it. And next thing we're going to add is a mix shader. Get our mix shader here, plug it into the surface, diffuse, and then the next shader we want is an emission. I'm going to give it a strength of 50 and give it a blue color, plug it in here, and then, so let's bring this up, 2 more nodes for now, our color ramp, and actually 3 more nodes. So what this is going to do is going to affect where these two are shown on the plane. Normally you would just have your factor slide, but we're going to make this a little bit more special using noise. So we're going to get our Verone and plug it in, and Moose Grave. Okay, now let's check out if this is working correctly. Yes, it's working just fine. Let's go back to the default here and make our background color black. We don't want that to affect it. So now, right now it looks like this, but if you take your color ramp and slide over any of the sliders, you can see it start affecting it. So I just, right here, I clicked it and inverted it. Looks better that way in my opinion. And then now we got this. And then we can go in here and edit how it looks. Get a little more detail, things like that. Just kind of mess with it. But we want this to animate. So we're going to add 2 more nodes. We're going to add a mapping node. Plug vector into the vector. And our texture coordinate. And so this is a super simple animation that we're going to do here. But before we do that, go to your user preferences and go to editing, and right here on Bezier, make it linear so that it loops perfectly. We don't want it to slow down and speed back up. Alright, so what we're going to be messing with to make it animate is the rotation here on the mapping node. And so if we mess with that, it does really cool things. I usually use the Y or the X. The Z is just kind of boring. It stays there, but the Y and the X gives you really cool stuff. And you can combine all these, by the way. And if you mess with these and you do the same principles that we're going to do the rotation, it's not going to work. So I'm going to go back in here, bring the detail down. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to pull up so we can get our timeline here, and we're going to add a single keyframe. I'm going to jump to the end, and here's really important. When you get to the end, click your right arrow to go to 361. If you go to 360 on that last frame, there's going to be a duplicate frame. It's difficult for me to describe how it works, but if you see it happen, if you don't go to that skip a frame, you're going to see a duplicate frame. So go to 361, super important if you want it to be seamless. And then on rotation, we're going to do 360 degrees. And you can double that to 720 or 1080, just for to speed it up if you want. But yeah, make it 360 so it does a perfect loop, and then insert keyframe. And we have our animation. Ta-da! It's pretty cool. We can go back to our default. Shift Z, yeah, and that's our animation. You can do this in Cycles, you can do this in Eevee. I personally think it looks much better in Eevee just because we have bloom, and it takes 10 times faster to render. But that's just me. I would recommend downloading Blender 2.8 to play with this, but again, it works perfectly the same way in 2.79. I put my settings at 4K right down here in your Eevee settings. I clicked all this except for depth of field. That you can kind of do some fun stuff with that, but I keep it off. And then of course bloom, I kept all my settings at the default. And yeah, that's basically how you do it. And you can export it and get a cool animation like this. So yeah, thanks for watching.